Hello, everyone. Today, well, the laboratory underneath the proving grounds had to go through a little bit of a lockdown, but don't pay that any mind. No reasons to panic. Because today, we're talking about Carrion. So, this is a digital devolver published title. As far as I know, the people who made it don't have any other titles under their belt. And we're looking at the Switch version of this game, but it's also available on Xbox and PC, but oddly enough, not on PlayStation 4, weirdly. And of course, since, me liking my physicals, the only physical version of the game currently at this point in time is only on the Switch, and it was limited. Anyway, so what is this game? This was sold or advertised as a reverse horror game. So basically think of The Thing, except instead of being the humans, you're the monster. So you play as a monster that escapes from its test tube containment and wreaks havoc upon a strange settlement laboratory underground facility that you're located in. The game is a very light Metroidvania-esque game, and I mean very light. It is very low on backtracking. Most backtracking really is in the later portion, like the last 25% of the game has a lot more of the backtracking, where it's very minor, especially early on, it's very minor. Another reason I would call it very light Metroidvania is there are not as many collectible power-up type things were normally in, like Symphony at Night or just about any Metroidvania in the Castlevania series. There are tons of items, powers, gear, side things, just all kinds of crap to find. There's only a few minor extra containers that boost you, giving you more tentacles, health, and such boosts. And that's it outside of all the ones that you have to find for progression. So the game is a very linear Metroidvania with very little bit sidetrack stuff. So you play as a monster in this game. There's not really a lot of story. There's a few flashbacks that are shown to you in that. But as the monster, you crawl around. You're this tentacle thing, and you eat people. Now, as you progress through the game, you basically can grow in mass as you progress through the game, and you become a total of 3 masses of your body, but they happen over time, not just you don't immediately get access to them. Now, each of these masses are a completely different kind of set of abilities, essentially. All your powers are assigned to a different form. Like, for example, you get this, one of your force powers you get is this web tentacle you can shoot and capture people, hit switches with, but you can only use it as the little mass, while, like, say, the big mass will get spears, and the medium mass will get a charge attack. These all give you a different mix, and you have to change your form. Now, luckily, the game presents you these pools of red liquid that you can dump pieces of your mass into, so you can downgrade, come back, and become whatever form you are in and that. Now, it's important to note where you leave masses, is because people in that, nothing in the game respawns. When you kill a bunch of people in that, they're dead. They're gone. There's no respawning and getting them back as health in that. So, depending on your skill level in the game, you might want to keep a good eye on where you leave masses in that, because you might have to go back to grow. Now, I didn't really have this problem, but looking at a few reviews, some people did have this problem of growing and going back. Now, the game does keep track of everything. Like, late in the game, when I went back to old areas that you have to go back to, really old areas, they keep track of all the mass. Like, when you save and load and everything, all that is kept. So you can always go to many different older locations to get your masses in that. Now, the puzzles and powers, there's a nice way of familial elements if you're familiar with Metroidvania games, as most of the power-ups allow you more access to the world than that. But there are some creative ones. There's some you would expect, like a ladle power where you can mind control a human, thus using them to stealthily take care of opposition, activating switches, or other little extras you can have them do for you. But there are some interesting powers that you also get that I won't spoil. But I'd say that the big thing that bothers me in this game is there's no map. Now there's this idea that you got this sonar thing and you'll get like sound waves of little areas that you can save, recover, bodies, humans, and I like honestly every time I tried it, it didn't convey what the fuck is like what is where and such. There's no map or anything. Now the map itself, like as in the actual levels, aren't super complicated, but when you get to the part where you start backtracking, the game, in my opinion, does not convey good direction on where to go at times. There were two major points in the game where I got completely lost and I had no idea where to go forward. Now, there are these signs that like convey messages to the walkers and then these facilities, and some of those do give you an idea where they're going, and that hints to you where you should be going, but that's not always everywhere, and it still sometimes leaves you to get lost when the backtracking portion of the game kicks in. So the lack of a map really kind of hurts. It's not, like I said, it's not a huge world, but I think a map would have still been a bit nice. Maybe have some, like, I don't know how to really, like, think about it as an in-game monster power. Maybe, like the save points you're, like, putting your biomass into, so maybe that could, like, build an infrastructure of some kind of mapping of the facility or something. But I really feel like that could have helped me not get completely lost on those few times. Like I said, there were two major times and a few little minor ones that weren't as bad, but two major ones that literally took a time-consuming amount of time to actually go. I actually had to even look up one of them because I legit didn't know where the fuck to go. Admittedly, it was a small oversight that I had in the environment, but still, it was a bit of a shame. And I said this when I played the game. Normally, that's not usually a huge issue in Metroidvanias, because there's usually tons of stuff to look for and find, so you always feel like, you know, you're finding something, even if you're not necessarily moving in the direction you need to progress the story. But, like I said, there's only a few extra DNA containers that just buff your monster, and that's it. There's nothing else to find outside of the ones that you're mandatory to find to progress the game. And when you're lost, and like I said, nothing respawns or anything. So when you're backtracking in areas of devoid of everything, just trying to figure out where to go forward, it's just pretty annoying, frustrating. Now, the creature, as I said, played on the Switch. I would imagine some of this might be easier on the PC end, but you have your white analog stick controls your tentacle, which will be very important at grabbing levels, and more importantly, human victims to devour down so you can keep your life up and your size up when necessary. But, you know, always get those little life. Now, there are some humans you can't actually eat because they're like in a protective suit of armor, so you can still grind them up with your teeth to kill them, but you can't actually eat their flesh because it's stuck in the suit of that. So moving the monster moves very fluid in medium and small, when you become large, when you're in a big open area, it's still pretty fluid. But you'll find when you get into like the little tunnels, which you will be getting a lot too late in the game, the big mass gets kind of confused on where you're going. Like, there's a few times while trying to do like U-turns and small tunnels, it seems to be confused which end of the mass I want to be moving forward, and kind of just gets a little. It's not super annoying. It's just a minor iffy thing. Now, I did have the game crash on me 2 times. It crashed on me live when I was live streaming this, and it actually crashed me while I was running the game for this review. I don't know what triggers the crash, but it only happened twice. You can save pretty much at any time you want, or just use the designated save points. So, and it also has an auto-save feature, so it gives you lots of saving potential, so not really much of anything was lost. It did scare me my first time, though, because when you're in-game and you pause the game, let me go in here, that when you pause the game, you get a save last checkpoint, and they're like all empty, and I thought like, oh, was the game not saving or anything? But no, that just lets you save the game wherever you want in a different slot, and then you can load it up. So you have your checkpoint backup, and then you got saved games and that. Now there aren't a lot of options. You can't do a whole lot with your controller. You can change some of the buttons a bit, but outside that, there ain't a whole lot. And you, like I said, you do get to control a human through flashbacks and mind control, so they're all a bit of a hiccupy with the humans going up ladders and things. A little weird. There definitely wasn't the main draw as human controls that. Presentation that music is very eminent. There ain't really usually a lot of high tier music. There's a few moments that play some songs, like first drone thing that you find stuff. A few interesting moments that play up on that. Personally, what I think is one of the most impressive things is just the mass that is the monster you play. Like, I don't even know how this thing was made, like, in a sprite program exactly. Like, how is this massive thing of tentacles and mouths and, like, it would be interesting to me, actually, if the cradle would actually show how they made and programmed this thing. Because it's probably the most technically interesting thing about the game itself, outside of its concept. Overall, though, I enjoyed the game. It's not a super long game. It'll probably get you around 8 to 12 hours, depending on your skill and how lost you get in the game. If you get super lost or just minor lost. I can recommend the game for sure. It's definitely, especially if you think the concept's interesting, it's definitely an enjoyable concept. Now, the price range, I would recommend this game. Personally, I think the $20, $19.99 price tag is a fair price for the concept and the amount of time you're getting into the game. While I definitely have my complaints, it would have been more nicer to have more things to find that, or how should I say, useful, not just collectibles, but things, that improved your monster, that. It would have been nice to have more stuff like that, but it is what it is. I think $20, though, is a fair price. That's how much is digital. Though, of course, as I mentioned, I own this game physical. And if you want to go down the physical rabbit hole for the Switch version, which was a special Resolve Games release, because it was digital devolver, and special Resolve game is, well, basically digital devolver, so. But right now, if you would look up the game, there are a few few listings that are bidding around $50-ish, but when it comes to buy it nows, they'll round $70 to $100. Now, if you get the special Azul version, because there was also a limited one variant, as they usually have like a few extra hundred of that go through limited one games. The limited one game is just simply the standard case and game and booklet, but the special reserves actual version had the black box NES treatment as several of the last titles had, along with some stickers and a few other weird little goodies of that. So if you're interested in that front, that would be under your own volition. I would wish you luck on getting a affordable price. Hard to recommend at those prices personally, as it's a very short game, and while a very creative idea that I haven't really seen anyone do in this kind of vein, it's certainly really hard to justify that amount of money for it. Because, I mean, it's not super long, and it definitely a little light on the content, so it's a bit of a tricky sell for me. But in the end of the day, if you're looking at it on storefronts and that, I definitely can recommend it for the $20 price tag that is for digital. Also, I'm not sure if it has a DRM free version. Let me look that up real quick. Yes, it is on GOG. So if you want a DRM free version, it is available at GOG as well, which is of course what I always personally prefer myself. But you know, that's up to you to choose what you want to get. As mentioned at the beginning, it is also on Switch and Xbox One, but oddly enough, at least currently, it is not on PS4, which is very odd for it to be on Xbox and Switch, but not on PS4. Very, very bizarre. I don't know if there was some kind of technical difficulty or something about that. I'm not sure. But at the end, those are my thoughts on the game. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or message me on Twitch. If you like you learned anything interesting, feel free to leave a like, and if you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike. Feel free, and let's get into the spoilers real quick. Yeah, so not really a whole lot to go into when it comes to what I think about the spoilers and that. As I said, you get some kind of flashback kind of things, and during these you play as a person that's discovering the monster, and as you go through them, you'll find they find the monster, and you find how the monster ended up in human hands through them. But you're not really told anything outside that. At the end of the game, you get a power that actually transforms into a human, and you escape the facility and this human body as it zooms out to show a city in the area and that. And the game never really explains, are you on Earth, an alien planet? It never really details anything. There's no actual, data, notes, or anything, or dialogue that go into what's going on. It's left in the air. That has its ups and downs. I don't feel like there's a lot of theory crafting territory with this, so maybe they just thought to keep it simple, but, without so many things to look for, discover in the world, I just feel like it's another area that kind of leaves you desiring something more out of the game. Again, the concept of everything is to be applauded, in my opinion. I just feel like there could have been some more elements added for the Metroidvania vibe to be better fleshed out, I guess you could say, but yeah. Anyway, I would hope the developers might consider doing a sequel or something, because I feel like this is a very lovely concept, and if further panned out with more better Metroidvania elements into it, things to look for, power-ups to get, and lots of side things that could help improve your monster, giving you encouragement to go explore more, I feel like could be interesting. But as far as I know, no plans of a sequel. So, anyway, Toulouse, be safe out there. Don't get eaten by monsters.